Welcome back to Sportsworld. Now, they call him the Blade Runner, a reference to the carbon fibre prosthetic legs that allow Oscar Pistorius to run. Now, he may already be a Paralympic world record holder, but the South African has a bigger goal to compete at the Olympics in Beijing next summer. So Sportsworld took the opportunity to meet the man affectionately known as the fastest thing on no legs.
200. He's coming through now, but so is Oscar Pistorius. Watch Oscar Pistorius in lane 2.
The first time Oscar Pistorius stepped onto an international athletics track, he broke 2 world records.
Finish line, a considerable distance ahead of
In 3 years, he's broken his own world record 26 times. Oscar Pistorius is a double amputee. The 20-year-old South African had only been training for 8 months when he started obliterating records at the 2004 Paralympics in Athens.
I mean, I was quite surprised, I think that I'd never really done athletics and it was never really a big thing for me. So when I first heard that that I'd broken a world record, it was kind of like, I couldn't really believe it. It was really overwhelming and I was pretty happy about it. So.
Holder of the 100, 200 and 400 metre world record for amputees, Oscar has earned himself the nickname of Blade Runner and been dubbed by the media as the fastest thing on no legs.
If I look at my times that I was running when I started, I ran like a 23.8 and that wasn't even fast enough to qualify, for an international Paralympic event. And the time that I'm running now is the world record by like 15, 17 metres.
And it's another world record for the talented Oscar Pistorius.
In all my 30 years, like I said, you can see a champion, and a champion is born, and he's one of those guys.
Coach Ampi Lowe has taken Pistorius to his limits in the Paralympic world of athletics. Now he's training him to give able-bodied athletes a run for their money. In March this year, he streaked into second place at the South African National Championships.
So is Oscar Pistorius. Watch Oscar Pistorius in lane 2. Our difference looking around, he's taking it easy, he's nursing his injury. But Oscar Pistorius, what a great run from him, and it's a good time for him.
Podium placing has put some of his able-bodied counterparts, as well as their coaches, under a bit of pressure.
Well, I was afraid. I must tell you, I was afraid for only one guy, and that was Oscar. But at the end, my athlete was the gold medalist and Oscar came second. So, no, as I said, I've got a lot of respect for him. But it was a good race, the one in Durban.
My first able-bodied national podium finish. I mean, it was something I'd worked hard for. I think it was quite an interesting race this year, but it pulled off pretty nicely, so I was pretty happy about that.
Oscar's best time is within a second of Olympic qualifying. His dream is to compete in Beijing.
On the 400 metres, I'm lying 0.8 seconds off qualifying standard for South Africa, which is 45.5 seconds. I'm running 46.34. So in the next year, I've basically got to clock down 0.8 seconds to qualify for the 400.
And he's working hard to get there. A rigorous schedule demands several hours of dedicated training every day.
One of the things that we kind of had to learn from a young age is that you can't say you can't do something like that. I can't phrase was never part of our vocabulary, and I think my dad always enforced on us is if you want to do something and you put your mind to it and you want to do it, then you'll get it done.
Oscar was born without fibulas, and when he was 11 months old, his parents took the agonising decision to amputate.
I think at the time it was quite a difficult decision for them, but I think that they definitely made the right decision.
Oscar was fitted with his first artificial legs when he was just 2 years old.
They were just little cones, if I can call it that. They weren't even feet. They were just little round stubs, just to get him up and mobile.
Prosthetist Trevor Brockman watched Oscar grow up.
He's very mobile and very active, and if you look at photos of him through the years growing up, if there's a sport or an activity or whatever, he didn't stand back for anybody.
As a child, he had no real concept of his disability.
From a young age, we were quite sport fanatic. We used to wake up at 4 in the morning, watch boxing or, watch the Grand Prix and that kind of stuff. And my dad bought us a motorbike when I was about 4 years old. I mean, it was never really something that I wanted to do when I was younger that I couldn't do because I had artificial legs.
Earlier this year, his dream of competing against able-bodied athletes came up against a hurdle. He'd been planning a trip to Europe to race.
The race organisers had invited me and then had to come back and say, listen, we're sorry, but you can't run because the IAAF said you can't.
In March, the IAAF banned the use of so-called technical devices that provide the user with an advantage over another athlete who's not using such a device.
So it was basically saying, you've been competing with able-bodied athletes till now, but now you're not allowed to anymore, you know, because you're running with artificial legs. But we don't know if it gives you an advantage, you're just not allowed running with them. So, I mean, that was pretty frustrating for us.
They were saying that the feet were being used as springs.
The designers say they're not springs, but passive devices made of carbon fibre.
They are designed to absorb energy and to put out energy. In other words, if you put in a certain amount of energy, you will get a certain amount of energy back. There are many figures bandied about, but he never gets back 100% of what he puts in. My response to Oscar having an advantage, or any prosthetic user, is that it's a lot of rubbish. I think people should actually go around to centres where prosthetics are made and actually look at a first-time amputee. Just trying to stand up, just trying to give one step without holding onto a crutch or holding onto somebody, and then reevaluate what they think.
In a written statement, the IAAF said they wanted athletics competitions to be between human beings and not manufacturers. They also said that unless you ban technical aids, what is there to stop somebody showing up with a pair of roller skates or a bicycle?
And for us, that was like, you know, discrimination. I mean, with some of the comments that were made from the IAAF, we were like, sat back in our seats and we actually couldn't believe that they were saying half the stuff. But like, I mean, the one comment they made was, you know, if they allow amputee athletes to compete in able-bodied events, then they might as well allow able-bodied athletes to compete with jetpacks on their backs. This prosthetic, this foot, has been around for 14 years. No athlete has even come close to qualifying for Olympic times or Olympic, you know, for the Olympic Games. So it's not like it's new technology or it's unfair technology.
Trevor Brockman has worked with amputees for 30 years and says that Pistorius is in a league of his own.
In my wildest dreams, I didn't think that any athlete would come close to what the able-bodied people are running. But it's only him, as far as I'm aware, at this stage in the world that is coming close to the able-bodied times. Nobody else.
I don't think people realise how hardcore you have to train and how much you have to kind of do to be a professional athlete, and you know, it kind of takes away from the ability of the training and of my talent as an athlete, and kind of, you know, as I said, kind of puts it on the prosthetic and says, well, that's, you know, you could cut off any guy's leg, put him on this foot, and he's going to run like awesome times.
The IAAF took the arguments on board and have decided to allow Oscar to compete against able-bodied athletes. They're trying to establish whether the blades give him a competitive advantage.
I would like to see all the tests that they must still do on him. There was no test done ever. And I don't think there's not even one field in his technical running style that there is an advantage. We only got disadvantages.
You know, it's a little plus-minus sum, the advantages and the disadvantages. How do you determine what the loss is? That's number one. You must first determine the loss.
Trevor believes the losses far outweigh any possible benefits.
He doesn't have all the muscles that everybody else has. He doesn't have muscles in the feet. He doesn't have the arches of the feet. He doesn't have Achilles tendons, things like that, which are very important to sprinters.
These are the things that the IAAF is looking into. They'll start by filming Oscar in a race. A special biomechanical camera will measure his stride and speed. From there, they'll decide on further research. Meanwhile, Oscar stays committed to his goals.
So Oscar Pistorius. Watch Oscar Pistorius in lane 2.
You know, I think if we work hard and consistently with the base that we've been working on in the last year, and the, you know, that baseline and the pinnacle that we're working for next year, I think that we can definitely make it for 2008 Beijing.
If he can shave 0.8 seconds off his time, Oscar will earn himself a place in the South African Olympic squad.
I look at this as a long-term investment. He's young. So I'm not going to be sort of pressurized and not allowing it for him too. So we're aiming for a qualification next year. The rest will be a bonus.
I think in the way that he's preparing right now, he definitely has a chance of qualifying. Obviously, there's some hard work still to be done, but he's definitely got the potential and he's got the heart to do it. Absolutely, he's got the heart.
And I believe he will be able to qualify. But that we'll have to see. I hope he can. I hope it will be good if he can be part of the team.
For now, he's put the controversy behind him and is focusing on making history this weekend.
My job's not to go and win every person's heart over about prosthetic legs. My job is to be a professional athlete and run at the end of the day.
Well, don't forget to check out our website. That's aljazeera.net/English, where you can find out all the latest sports news and view our reports again, and let us know what you think of the show. Well, that's it for this edition of Sportsworld. I'm Rahul Pathak. You're watching Al Jazeera.